The first fan club I joined, I believe, was the Unearthly Children, and I believe it was at a convention. Don't know which one. Probably the Tom Baker convention. It's the only one I could think of because it was my first convention, and I, did everything I could possibly do at that convention. That didn't cost a lot of money because, come on, I was a young kid then. Well, I wasn't young. I was, what, 18? But what they did do is they would send, and I have some of these newsletters would come out every month. I think, it looks like it's every month. So, like, I have here, I'm going to pull a few of these out. These are some of the newsletters I saved over the years from the Unearthly Children. And they would give you, like, where's the next meeting, the treasurer resigned, holiday greetings, how many high counselors does it take? And they always had these cartoons on the back, which I always looked forward to. Looking forward to getting your newsletter in the mail. We didn't have instant access, so we didn't have, like, the internet and all that stuff. Look, here's an interview with Colin Baker. So getting your information was either through Doctor Who magazine or through the fan clubs. And it was an experience. Now, this fan club, the Unearthly Children, was out of Richborough, PA. I was also a member of, and I got it here also, Friends of the Doctor, which was out of Bridgeport, PA. And they did their little comics at the back, too. I think their newsletter was better. It was much more informed, as you can see here. And that's actually Tom Baker from when I saw him. So this came out not long after. This was June 1984. So obviously I saw him before June of 1984. So I think I got the year right at least. And they would have meetings that you can go to. They would have socials, gatherings, sometimes you would meet at a library, sometimes it was at somebody's house. But then we got involved in other things. We did the WHYY Channel 12 fundraisers. We did the Channel 23 NJN fundraisers. Here's a Whovian Times that I have here. What else do I have? Some old Doctor Who magazines. But I also have some Whovian Times. Whoop, I'm dropping stuff. Whovian Times stuff that I collected over the years. These are from the Doctor Who Appreciation Society. I'm sorry, the Doctor Who Fan Club of America. So I was also in. I was in the Unearthly Children, the Friends of the Doctor, Pardonians of Princeton, the Doctor Who Fan Club of America, and the Doctor Who Appreciation Society. So I was in all those fan clubs. And like I said, I got to work conventions, and it was a blast. It wasn't hard to get involved with working the conventions as a fan club member because they reached out to you. We need volunteers. And I responded several times. I worked several conventions, notably Whovent 85. I volunteered to work the Doctor Who USA tour, which was a trailer that toured the country with props and stuff. I helped do the WHYY TV telethon one time. Did the same thing for NJN, where I got to meet Patrick Troughton. So yeah, getting involved wasn't hard. It was just a matter of raising your hand and saying, yes, I volunteer. And then the fan club did the rest. They made the assignments and they got you involved. And I'm not sure how they went about it. I'm sure they had connections with creation conventions where they would help organize and reach out for these volunteers. There were different jobs that everybody did. Everybody was assigned something. Some people would work the dealer rooms. Some people were assigned to be a guide for the celebrities that were appearing, showing them where to be at what time and stuff, spent the day with them. Some people were assigned tickets, which I was assigned on Whovent 85. That was my job. That was basically it. You did whatever they assigned you to do. Just the size of this convention, the amount of guests that they had. I'm trying to remember. It was John Pertwee, Colin Baker, Nicola Bryant, Anthony Ainley, Janet Fielding, John Levine, Carol Ann Ford, um, Terry Walsh, and Eric Hoffman, who was a Doctor Who historian, was there. But what made it stand out, it was the first convention that I went to the pantomime show at night. You went into an auditorium and they did a show. They each had their own routines. And John Pertwee was just hilarious. He was so funny. He did some folk songs, and I actually have it on tape. So maybe one day I'll pull out the cassette tape if I could find it and play the tape of the entire pantomime, the entire show I have. That event holds a special place for me because that's where I unofficially met my first wife. She was there with her boyfriend, and I knew her boyfriend. And I was doing the tickets. I was putting the tickets together. And he didn't really introduce me to her. But we talked for a minute. I gave them their badges and they left. I didn't know that was the start of something yet to come. That moment didn't really leave an impression on my mind until later that same, well, actually, it was the following year. I didn't know I was going to see that woman again. I had no idea I was going to see her again. But I didn't even think about her during the convention because it was just, I wasn't even introduced to her. I don't, she might have spoke, I don't remember. But I remember seeing Joe, and we went to high school together. That's how I knew him. So I can't actually say that it was a, a, a moment that I would say was memorable. In hindsight, it is now, but it wasn't at the time. The actual memorable parts of Whovent 85 was just the size of the convention. That was the most memorable part of it. Not a whole lot changed between those two events. What changed was the Whovent, the Doctor Who USA tour itself, the trailer. That was an event I worked, and it was at the Chamonix Mall in 1986 in June. And my job was to basically open the front door, the TARDIS doors, to help people get in to the trailer. This was a free tour. It was nothing, I think it was free. There was nothing for anybody to really do. But my job was to help people in. Oh, I did tour. I did walk through and tell them, this is a Centauran head, this is a Dalek, this is blah, blah, blah. I did do some of that. And I remember when you first walked in, there was like a console, console room, a very small one. But what happened was, I was outside, and again, I see Joe, the same guy that I saw at Whovent 85, show up with his girlfriend, the same girl, and another woman who I also knew. Her name was Joyce. And I went up to them. Like, hey, Joe, how you doing? Joy, what a surprise to see you here. I knew her from school. I didn't, other than music class, we didn't really talk to each other. And that's when Joe officially introduced me to his girlfriend, Sandra. By the time we came out of the trailer, I knew I wanted to be with that girl. And the next day, we started dating. So we were together for 14 years after that. So I can honestly say that Doctor Who introduced me to my first wife, and I'll forever be grateful for that. Whovent 85, up until that time, was the biggest convention I've ever been to. so many stars, so many things going on. But I also went to Whovent '86, which was, I believe, in May of 1980. It was May of 1986. It was the same weekend as Hands Across America. And I'm trying to remember who was at the convention. It was Sarah Sutton, who played Nissa, John Nathan Turner, who was the producer of the show at the time, the showrunner, Louise Jameson, who played Leela, Colin Baker, who was the Sixth Doctor, Lala Ward, who was Romana 2, Bonnie Langford was there, played Melanie Bush, Mark Strickson, who played Turlo, he was there. I can't remember if there was any more. I think that was it. That was even better than Whovent '85. Maybe because I wasn't working it. I didn't work this one, and I stayed for 2 days. We stayed overnight, I slept on a balcony because there was too many people sharing one room. During Hands Across America, I started out first behind Sarah Sutton and John Nathan Turner. I eventually ended up between Colin Baker and Louise Jameson. So when the actual event started, I was between Louise Jameson and Colin Baker. I never thought about it that way. I don't consider myself part of the fabric of the fandom of Doctor Who. It was just something I did. I went to the conventions. I bought stuff. I participated. I volunteered. But it wasn't like, I don't see myself as somebody who was, I wasn't like memorable or anything like that. If you go back to, if you ask people who were there then, they wouldn't know who I was. But I will tell you, the conventions themselves became part of who I am. I made some good friends at the time. Friends that, Sandra Flitter, Dana Flitter. My friend David Goldfield, I got him into Doctor Who. And he went to the Peter Davison convention with me. He also went to the Mary Tam convention with me, along with my other friend Mark Beck, who was also into the show. But I don't see myself as being, maybe I'm not understanding the question. There was. I had two friends. Eileen Shore. She was my Jack and Jill ice cream truck driver. She was coming around to my street. And one day she was wearing the scarf and we became friends. She eventually made me a scarf, which unfortunately I lost in that same flood I lost the videotapes in. Her and her son were big Doctor Who fans. And we went to the Terrence Dix, Louise Jameson convention together. And we went to Whovent '86 together. I think it was Whovent '86. It was. But unfortunately, they both perished not long after that in a fire at their house, their apartment. She was 32 years old. He was 9. And it was so sad to hear. I actually found out about it watching the news on TV. That they both died in a fire at their home in Cheltenham. And I was devastated. She was so cool. I mean, she really was. Thank you for joining me on this 3-part journey. We just finished part 2. There's still one more part to go, and that's going to be more of a show and tell. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you at the next episode.